JK Dobbins of the Baltimore Ravens went down with a very bad looking leg injury today, and initial speculation was talking about whether or not this was an ankle or an Achilles injury. Unfortunately, we have just received news from Coach John Harbaugh that it is in fact a torn Achilles, and Dobbins now is projected to miss the remainder of the season. Since some people may not be too familiar as to what exactly the Achilles tendon is and what to expect when a person has torn that, I'm going to go ahead and focus on that with this video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Nick Gallo and I'm a doctor of physical therapy. And with my channel, I go over sports injuries so that they are a little bit easier to understand, and I talk about what that person should expect during the rehab process. If you like today's video and you find it informative, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel because I will be making more videos in the future regarding sports injuries, rehabilitation, and other physical therapy related content. Also, if you have any comments or questions, please leave those in the comment section below. We can see right here that Lamar Jackson is going to pass it to Dobbins, and when he does this, the defender is going to tackle him, bringing him to the ground. As he's bringing him to the ground though, however, we see that that foot just gets tangled up and it goes through something known as a forced dorsiflexion motion. I'll explain that in a moment as to what exactly dorsiflexion is and why this can lead to an Achilles tear. Here I have a model of the foot and ankle, and so if you see here, the top portion of the ankle is going to be formed by the tibia, or the bone that we often associate with as being the shin, that's going to come down and form that medial malleolus, or the inside portion of the ankle. As we look at the outside here, we're going to have the fibula bone that's going to come on down and form that lateral malleolus, or the outside portion of the ankle. As we look deeper in here, we see this is known as the talus bone that's going to form the bottom portion of the ankle, and this is what is going to form what we know as being the ankle joint. When we're talking about the Achilles tendon, this is going to be located posteriorly or on the back portion of the lower leg. So we're going to go ahead and flip the model around here. Basically, we have three muscles that are located on the back portion of the calf. They are the gastrocnemius, which is that big fat muscle that's located on the top portion. Then we have the soleus muscle, which is located a little bit more inferior. And finally, we have a small muscle known as the plantaris muscle. And those three are going to come down and join together and form what we know as the Achilles tendon. And that Achilles tendon is going to cross the ankle joint, and basically it's going to attach onto this heel, also known as the calcaneus bone. Now, the two main motions at the ankle that are pertinent for the Achilles tendon, we already talked about one of them. The first one is dorsiflexion, where the toes are going to be coming up in this direction. This is important because in that position, we are actually stretching all of the muscles of the calf, as well as putting a stress on that Achilles tendon. The opposite of that motion is known as plantar flexion, where the toes are going to be pointed downward. In this position, we are contracting all of the muscles that are located in the back of the calf area, and this is also going to be putting a force through the Achilles tendon. There are a few different ways that a person can suffer a torn Achilles. The first one is if they are generating way too much power going through that tendon, whether they be jumping or sprinting or essentially trying to take off and generate a lot of force going through that Achilles tendon. If that tendon is not strong enough, or if say they already have some tendonitis or something like that going on, that is going to basically make the tendon a little bit weaker, and that can lead to a rupture. The other way that a person can tear their Achilles tendon is what looks like to be the case here. Essentially, that person is going to be going through a forced dorsiflexion range of motion, and if the tissues essentially are not flexible enough, or you're pushing them way past their norm, then this can lead to a rupture of the tendon. It can also lead to a calf tear, but it sounds like in this case he's already had an MRI and they have already diagnosed him with an Achilles tendon tear. The typical norm value for dorsiflexion at the foot is about 10 to 20 degrees. So if we see in this video, obviously I can't make an exact measurement, but if he is going beyond the normal range of motion that he has at the ankle, that's going to put tremendous stress on that Achilles tendon and lead to a rupture like it did in this case. Now, there is a grading system for these Achilles tendon injuries. There are grades 1, 2, and 3. In a grade 1 Achilles tendon injury, basically what you're getting is you're getting some stretching of the tendon, but you're not going to have any tearing. In a grade 2, that's where you're going to get some partial tearing. And finally, in a grade 3, that's when you have a full rupture. We don't know the exact grade that Dobbins is dealing with, but based on the feedback from John Harbaugh projecting that he's already going to miss the entire season, this to me makes it sound like it's going to be essentially a grade 3 at this point. Usually when a person suffers a grade 3, what is going to occur is that that person is going to essentially need surgery to reattach the tear. When we get somebody that comes into PT for rehab for this type of an injury, they're most likely going to have the surgery if it's a full rupture. And when they do have the surgery, there's going to be a period of weeks that that person is going to be non-weight bearing and essentially in a walking boot when weight bearing happens, because you don't want to basically stretch that repair. The walking boot, when the person can finally weight bear, is going to keep the foot at neutral, and that basically means that when they walk, there's not going to be any motion, whether it be plantar flexion or dorsiflexion, going through the joint. Once the person has had follow-ups with the surgeon and everything is deemed okay, then we can start working on something known as partial weight bearing. This is where a person is not going to put all of their weight going through the leg. This can be a number of days to a number of weeks. Then finally, we can work on full weight bearing. At this stage, once the graft is protected and everything looks good, we can start to work on gentle range of motion. We can also work on strengthening, balance, and essentially trying to make everything as normal as possible as it was prior to the injury. The problem with Achilles injuries, though, is that once they are done with rehab, it does take a long time for that person to generate full strength through the leg. So in this case, usually what we see is that a person is going to be in rehab for a number of months, upwards of about 6 months if they want to get back to full activity. So as of right now, the projection that if it is a full rupture requiring surgery, being out the entire season, unfortunately, is accurate. If I happen to hear any updates, I'll be sure to update everybody in the comment section. But as of right now, it's looking like it is very accurate that Dobbins is going to miss the entire season. And unfortunately, it's just a bad break for him. And that's it as of right now regarding JK Dobbins' Achilles injury. It's unfortunate. I like Dobbins a lot, and he was dealing with that ACL tear fairly recently. I wanted to see him kill it this season, but it looks like right now he's going to have to rehab this. If you like today's content, once again, please feel free to subscribe to the channel because I will be making more of these videos in the future. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.